Okay, tomorrow I head to North Dakota.
That's exciting.
It's duck hunting. It's the only time you really go to North Dakota. There's a major fly. It's a pattern of ducks that come down out of Canada. So the pattern is it. It's one of the first most northern states that the ducks are all coming to fly south.
Okay, that makes sense.
Makes sense. So
Mhm.
you go to North Dakota. There's all these pothole lakes and ponds, and they have this great law in North Dakota. If it's not posted, you can just walk on and hunt. You don't have to ask for permission or anything.
Oh.
I guess they don't get many visitors in North Dakota, so they're like, just come, go shoot some
How
ducks.
friendly.
Yeah, they're friendly.
How
It's
friendly.
great. So then, after that, I have in a couple weeks a trip to Iowa for
Okay.
just a long weekend to do some pheasant hunting with a farmer. Same way, we stay at his house.
Awesome.
He has like bought up these different farms, and he grows different things on these different farms, and some of them he just rests, and it just has great grassland for pheasant. And so there's like a group of 8 of us going in. We stay at his house. He lives by himself. He's like, you guys coming once a year? That's when I clean my house. It's perfect. It makes me make sure I'm all. And we're like, this is clean. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we do some projects for him and things like that. But it's like the fall patterns are happening, and deer hunting, just getting in. The rut pattern will happen. So you start to think about as hunters, as fishermen, you think about right now the muskie pattern is just like clockwork, and people that are on it. And I think that's something you learn to watch for and to look for. And with experience, you start to unlock those patterns quickly. You can make adjustments and see what's going on. So we see that in those parts of our life, but what about just patterns in general? Is our brain like programmed to see patterns?
Yes, even though Trigger just shook his head. No. Just kidding.
True.
Snoozy. I think that yes, right? Like as much as we think humans are just so completely different than any other animal, we're really not at the core, right? You mentioned the rut. That's a pattern.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the weather changes, the leaves, the vegetation, the amount of light, the moon, right? All of these patterns. So all animals work off of patterns.
Yeah.
I even think of
like the ducks, it's like, how do they know it's time to go south?
Yeah.
Well, the temperature patterns, the light in the sky. I think when we look at deer and elk, it's the amount of light that is triggered in the female's eye that triggers the estrus, which is just like all these patterns. But it's like there's systems in place, right? In our brains, we begin to look for those systems. Yeah. For patterns.
Absolutely, those patterns are so important. That's what keeps us operating, keeps the animals operating, right? On all of these different ways, but it also works that way for us. There are just things that work for our patterns in general, right? Like our basic needs.
Yeah.
Eating, sleeping.
Yeah.
All those things. But then further, because those patterns are for our basic needs, our brain is programmed to look for patterns.
Gotcha.
So, we kind of talked before about how our brains will unconsciously start to react to memories of things from a different time. So, similar to, a deer going in, the deer rut, having these triggers of the light and the weather and all of these things, it is the same thing for us. if I was involved in a critical incident and it was chilly out, it was dark, it was close to Halloween, well, when it gets chilly and dark and close to Halloween, my brain is going to say, this is familiar.
Yeah,
And
I've seen this before.
absolutely, and it's going to start if that critical incident left me feeling scared, high adrenaline, sad, whatever that is, that's attached to all that sensory data
Yeah,
of that. So the next time I experience all of that sensory data, it is very possible that my body's going to start reacting without me even having any conscious thought about it.
so are there parts of our brain that start to like key in on these certain things, um, like if you went through a traumatic moment of either there was a high fear factor or there was just some traumatic moment, are there different parts of our brain that start to do different things? I mean, it's probably a technical question, but
Oh, yeah, right. Our brain has all these different things
Yeah.
that start going on. One thing that I think is important to mention, because it's something that a lot of us on my team utilize when there has been a critical incident, is getting the body to get back to grounding and as close to that like status quo as possible before the first sleep. So this is where it's so important. I get it that it can be hard. You are involved in a critical incident. It's midnight when it happens. By the time you get out of there and you can leave, it's 3, 4, 5 a.m. You're exhausted. All you want to do is sleep. You may or may not have had your adrenaline dump yet.
Yeah.
You just want to check on your family. You want to take your uniform off. All these things. But it is really important to do some grounding, coping skills, because we need to get our heart rate and our nervous system
because you
back
just
down.
went through a huge fight, flight, or
Yep, freeze, yeah.
response,
Mhm.
and that cortisol and adrenaline that naturally physically comes into our body, that has an effect,
Absolutely.
right? So you're
Mhm.
saying, okay, let's kind of recenter and reset
Mhm.
before we shut everything down
Yes.
for the night.
Yes, and the reason is while we're sleeping, that is when our brain is doing all the filing. So
That
then our
makes
brain is
sense.
saying, okay, it was October. I'm filing that part in the October file, but I'm also filing it in the dark and gunfire and screaming
The
and
smells,
lights and
the-
sirens
yes, all of
and
that.
the gunpowder and all of these things. So all of that sensory data is going along with all of our emotional data and it's being processed. And if we are still really heightened and we haven't kind of balanced ourselves out at least a little bit, all that anxiety and emotion is being filed with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but I don't really want a ton of anxiety and adrenaline hiding in my October, my dark, my midnight, my
Right.
screams, my gunfire, my etc. files in my brain.
Yeah.
Because I don't know when that's going to be triggered.
Right, that all is hiding there. We don't realize it, but it's all there.
Yep.
So one of those things starts to become true, calendar year, the pattern starts to show itself, and then here we start, without even knowing it, our brain saying, oh, I got files on this, let me show you, and this file connects to this file. Pretty soon, why do I feel so anxious? Why am I I feel like I'm having a panic attack? But all of this is starting to build back up.
It is, and we can also our brain can start projecting because it likes patterns and it likes themes. So if it is triggering internally this theme of October and gunfire and all of this, we are going to start seeking it. We are going to start paying attention to things that fit that description more so than we would just what we do on a general day-to-day basis.
That's, yeah.
Which, you know, if we take it even out of the critical incident realm, this is where we start self-sabotaging.
Yeah.
Because we have unhealthy memories and filings with emotion, and we start intentionally bringing in things that are the same.
So, just as a very simple example of this, I'm thinking just how my brain works,
Yeah.
and this may not be true for anybody else, but when I buy a new car, a gray truck, all of a sudden, it's like I see gray trucks everywhere.
Everywhere, but you didn't before you picked it up.
So all of a sudden I'm like, well, everybody's got one of these. Is that our brain?
Yeah,
Patterns. So it's constantly doing it.
Constantly.
So having the understanding that, okay, our brain can run down some negative trails, patterning. Can we use that for good? Is there good patterns?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Our ability to recognize and draw out patterns is a superpower.
Wow.
And I love to talk about how superpowers can be used for good or evil.
Okay.
So, yes, we can use it to self-sabotage or get in that stuck feeling, to trigger all sorts of things. We can also use it as a benefit if we continue to notice, like, you know what, excuse me, I feel like I am feeling down and I want to be surrounded by positive people. Well, I can choose to continue to look for people that match my energy and are down, or I can choose to start just picking out that 1, 2, or that little moment that is positive, and pretty soon my brain will go, oh, there's a pattern starting.
It's a good one.
It's a good one.
We're gonna go with it.
Yeah, but I mean, however, I could start to pick out the negative pattern, and my brain's still gonna go, there's a pattern, we're gonna go with it.
I got one of those negative patterns. I'm shooting my bow, and I'm catching myself. Here it is, we're getting close to hunting season, and I'm visualizing, I'm in my tree saddle, and I'm visualizing, okay, this is my window, this is my hunting lane, and I'll go and practice, and I set a 3D target up, and I was shooting out of my saddle just to practice, because you're up there, you're hanging on this, and you've got to get everything, I want to be ready, and my pin got on the target, and I shoot a lot, and I practice against target panic and punching the trigger. That's my whole year. That's all I do, right? But the pattern was the pins on it, fire the trigger. It was so.
There wasn't even a thought.
It just happened. So people all the time are asking me to help them get through that, and I'm like, well, I don't even. Here's what you got to do. So I have to go back to my training and say, okay, my job. I have one job. When I draw that bow, I want to see how slow I can move that trigger. That's my only job. Put the pin on it. I had to retrain. So I'm up there, and it's just, I was shocked that I fired that quickly. And when you fire that quickly, your other hand is not steady, so you make a bad shot. And that's buck fever. That's so I was starting to experience some of that, and I said, okay, go back to your training. And that's not a pattern I wanted to get into, where I just get my pin close to it and it just fires without me even thinking it. That's right. I have to control the shot no matter what. So little examples of how daily life, our brain, the superpower of using patterns for us or against us, we have to learn how to navigate those in all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So trauma is critical to have a plan in place.
Mm-hmm.
When you deal with something, a really hard day, how are you going to, you talk about that reset, because you mentioned self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's something that plagues a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
I know I do that sometimes. And when I catch myself in it, well, the example of that was punching the trigger. Well,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot worse cases, I'm sure, but
For sure.
that's an example. So, wherever you want to take it, either self-sabotage or
Sure.
debriefing or resetting.
Yeah, so when we feel any excitement, and that would be, a lot of times I term it as anxiety, but it could be positive or negative,
Okay,
right? So I could have.
you're just ramping up one
Yep.
way or another.
So it could be like the most exciting day, or it could be like the scariest day.
Okay, gotcha.
Either way, I have an increase in anxiety and energy, whatever.
Okay.
So that is going to just trigger my nervous system. It's going to trigger, cortisol. It's going to trigger all sorts of things in my gut, because most of our
Yeah.
hormones come from our gut. It's going to trigger hormone secretion from our brain, all these connections, all of these things. And from there, I'm not thinking clearly,
No.
no matter what. It could be good or bad. I'm not thinking clearly,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Christmas morning, right? As a kid,
Yeah.
So
you're just
excited.
yeah.
You didn't even remember how many presents you opened because you just ripped them all open and you were so excited,
Yeah.
or whatever that is. But it's the same thing. So the hard part is, once it happens, that's not the time to start doing something about it. We have to have these reset practices in place
Proactive plan.
as a pattern of usage
Gotcha.
first, because then it's muscle memory,
Yeah.
right? When we talk about, archery, guns, when we talk about our in-service trainings, which it's fall, it's in-service trainings season, we're
Yeah.
trying to get them all in before the end of the year. The reason we're doing this in a somewhat intense or stressful, right? We try to, use role players and sound and sensory data to try to increase, but the idea is to build muscle memory.
Yeah.
So that when this happens and I am escalated, positive or negative,
The
my
right
body
things happen. Yeah.
kicks in and kind of just takes over, because it's not going to be a cognizant thought.
Right. Yeah. So it almost affects the part of our brain that has reason or planning, and it's overloading that because there's just this ramp of excitement. So we then are like, okay, if I didn't have a proactive plan in place, my brain's gonna search for a pattern somewhere.
It is.
So
And it may not be the healthy one.
yeah.
It might be
Yeah.
the healthy one, but I even think of smoking.
Okay.
It's a coping skill.
Yeah.
It's an unhealthy one,
Yeah.
but it's a coping skill. So regardless, when we have stress, people who are smokers and use that to reset, to have their time, whatever,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go have a cigarette.
It's the pattern.
It's the pattern.
So is that start to lead into, by us ignoring, or I guess the self-sabotage part, clarify that a little bit for me. You talked a little bit about it. Is it just simply you're letting the negative patterns take over, or what do you mean by that exactly?
In this case, when we're talking about patterns, for sure, and I don't know that it's always a cognizant self-sabotage,
Right.
right?
I don't
Because
think it
we're
is,
just
yeah.
falling into the habits that we know, which are the patterns of behavior that we've done and used or relied on. So I never fault somebody for having a negative coping skill, and I never walk in and say, well, you need to quit smoking today, and you need to quit this,
Yeah.
and all these, because the last thing that we want to do is take away the coping skills that are getting you by.
Yeah.
You need to work on replacing them. And that is the hard part is we usually don't realize that we need healthier coping skills until we're in a place where we really needed to use them.
Yeah.
So when we talk about overall wellness and military and first responder wellness, it really has to be that proactive pre-plan of what are the things that I can do to reset.
Yeah.
And I talk about having 3 levels of these different coping skills
Okay.
in different areas. So if you are familiar with the wellness wheel, that has 8 different categories of life that we want to address
Okay.
in some sort of balance. However, I always talk about small, medium, and large coping skills. So small, it's kind of like a pyramid. We need a ton of these. These are the 30 seconds to 15 minutes or 30 minutes. So listening to your favorite song, using the bathroom, getting a drink of water, getting a snack, calling a friend, walking up and down the stairs a few times, getting some fresh air, right? These little things that when something hits, I can go do it, but I also can have them built into my day. So it's not a big inconvenience. Then medium, those are the couple hours. So going to the gym, reading a book, going out to dinner with friends, watching a
Gotcha.
movie, walking the dog.
Shooting some archery.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then and I would even say that the medium can be, sitting in a tree stand all day, right?
Excellent.
I know, it's awful, isn't it? Honey,
Yeah.
I'm just practicing my coping skills. Abby said I have to.
I got great news. I have to go hunting. No.
And it's
I get it.
prescribed.
It's prescribed. Yeah. It
and-
is though. There.
yeah,
There.
for sure.
I see what you're saying though. Is you didn't get in that situation overnight.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to have some strategic plan to move into a healthier place. So a small, medium, and large. Okay, that gives me start now. I can start to have some strategy.
Mm-hmm.
What is a good balance? Because I don't want to overdo things, because then I have a whole another set of problems.
Correct.
But if I can start to bring some balance to that, and I'm moving in the right direction, good things are going to happen.
Absolutely. So if we just even put 5 small coping skills into our regular day, again, it could be as simple as taking your lunch break at an appropriate time.
And not just working through lunch
Correct.
all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
guilty.
Yeah.
But just building those things in. When on your commute home, taking a 5-minute longer route.
Yeah.
Just to give yourself that little bit of extra time. It could be, sitting in your car when you get home and just having that minute to deep breathe and listen, finish a song, whatever that is.
Yeah.
They can be so tiny.
Okay, so you talked about the small ones, the medium ones. I cut you off before we got to the large
So
ones.
the large ones, most people only can fit in, a handful of these a year because these are the long weekends, the week or 2 of vacation.
Gotcha.
That's kind of harder. But for an example, if we don't do any small at all, and we rely on going to the gym 3 days a week, and maybe, watching football with friends on Sundays, and then live for our fishing trip in the spring and our hunting trip in the fall, we are grinding in between those 6 months. That little bit of weight, working out and social time is not offsetting all the little things that happen through the day that just keep building. Then we get to the gym and they might mostly release, but they might not. If it's a day you don't go to the gym, guess what? Those carry with you in your sleep.
Yeah.
And they get filed away with everything to create more unhealthy patterns.
So now it's starting to come together. I see it. So you're saying that I just think of our culture of like, I'm going to work 35 years and retire and then I'll live my life. That doesn't work. You've got to have some really healthy things proactively being developed on a regular basis, so you're cleaning out the files before they get cluttered and before they get stacked with all this, negativity.
Yeah, because otherwise you're digging yourself out in retirement.
Yeah, and you're not going to be happy.
No. Heart attacks.
Just when you
Alcohol
stop
and
working.
substance abuse, divorce rates, all of that kind of go up because they were a workaholic, and then all of a sudden they have all the time.
No
They
structure.
have no structure. Their brain says, hey, did you know that you're not thinking about a million things today? I've got some things that I've had stacked off to the side. Let me show ya.
Yeah.
And you're going to start having the dreams, the emotions,
Yeah.
the conflicts, maybe not even realizing what they're stemming from. And you worked for that 35 years, did all the overtime, picked up all the things, were on all the special teams. Your wife or your husband, your spouse, your kids, they didn't get a lot of you. And now you're around all the time, and they have this whole routine and set of patterns and structure and normalcy that does not include you being home all the time.
Yeah.
Or having a say in some of it
That can be
sometimes.
hurtful. That can start to create misunderstandings. That can really start to, this is the people that I thought I loved and cared about the most, but they aren't used to me even being here.
Yeah, how ungrateful.
Yeah.
Don't they know how hard I've worked,
exactly.
what I sacrificed, this is my time,
We write a
I
negative
earned
story.
this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're stuck in this. Yeah. So a better balance would be, okay, I've got to have some small, medium, and large patterns of caring for myself so that I can be more engaged and better for the people I care about. But also, I'm just at a healthier place. I'm well. Right?
Yes.
So it's a commitment to being well. But it's not overwhelming. It's just start to build a strategy of small, medium, and large.
It's not like we have to come up with it today and tomorrow just be perfect at it. The other piece is it's not going to stay the same.
Right.
What I enjoy doing now is not exactly what my day-to-day looked like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, right? It looks different. It changes with the seasons, right? Sometimes we want to be out in the woods, and sometimes the bugs are going to eat us before we get close.
Right. So being outside, though, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
There is some real value
Absolutely.
in being outside, right? So I got to grow up with a unique, I'll say unique upbringing. My dad was an elk hunting guide, and we were outside a lot. We lived on a ranch, and we would go do these trips, and all these different people would come, and they'd be, man, this is an amazing trip of a lifetime, and we got to do it every year. And my dad would always say, somewhere in that trip to people, the outside is good for the inside. And I think just there's a reset that's happening. So that's an example of having those things in those patterns in your life. But it really comes down to being proactive and understanding that I get to choose what patterns are running my life.
Yes, so that control, especially because I think so many of us feel that there isn't a lot we have control over. Right? We can't control sometimes our work schedule, our shift, who we work with, what we have to do, what calls we go on, when we deploy, all these different things. But we can choose what patterns we allow our brain to pay attention to.
So as we get older, I know you're not
I'm getting
near
there.
as old as I am, but what I've learned is this. A lot of times in my life, I would feel like, I'm stuck. This is just, I would feel overwhelmed because it was a bad situation and I felt stuck. but then you look up and you're like, oh, I'm through that season. Life is a series of seasons.
Oh yeah.
And we get so like bummed out about the current season, but if you're looking for the positives and you have these healthy patterns in place, you can make it through the good seasons and the bad seasons much better.
Absolutely.
And they go by fast. That's what I notice right now is time is flying by. And I've got some really good patterns, but I'm noticing there's some I need to make a change on. And I think just talking with you today has helped me see, okay, I'm gonna go home and just start to journal about what are my small, medium, and large. Is it a good balance? Is it a good volume? You know, my job as a husband and dad is to care for my family well. How do we start to build some proactive ones for them? So I think, it's exciting. These patterns, I love patterns,
Yeah, so does your brain.
right? That's,
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about how our brains are all talking to each other and pick up on each other's patterns, which is a whole another conversation for another day.
That's a good one. Well, you're probably picking up that I had a few too many of the espresso. They're so good. But
your energy is carrying me through today on my lack of sleep.
I'm a little wired up on the little too heavy on the espresso chocolate. So, but the weekend's coming.
Yep.
And I'm on a trip to North Dakota.
Yeah.
So
have a great
got some
trip.
great friends and looking forward to it. Hey,
Sounds
Trader.
really good.